Education is preparation for reparations.
Thank you, Clive, and actually thank you so much to Belle for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all. Thank you to the audience for having a listen to what I've got to say. Okay, I've got a prepared speech, so I keep it to the 5 minutes. My name is Gloria Daniel. My great-great-grandfather, John Isaac Daniel, was born in 1828 on a plantation in Barbados into chattel slavery. We know the plantation he was registered on after the Abolition Act of 1834, but his mother and father are unknown to us. Daniel is a plantation name, branded onto our family for almost 200 years by the family that received compensation for John Isaac and 4,424 enslaved people. Thomas and his brother John Daniel were the third largest receivers of compensation under the Abolition Act of 1833. They were ship owners, plantation owners, manufacturers, bankers and moneylenders to the plantation economy. In 2020, using the records of the legacies of British slavery and slave ownership at University College London to track every company that this family was involved in, I began to challenge their cosy reputation as church patrons and that misused word for reputation-watching philanthropist. This family lived cheek by jowl with the Church of England, and for more than 60 years they consigned, shipped and sold the sugar that was grown on 2 church-owned plantations in Barbados, Codrington and Concets. This family had more than 20 reverends, canons and vicars in their marital mix. History is personal, and we must do everything in our power to own the narrative. That means tracking down who these people were, how they transferred their wealth, and where that wealth is today. This means using our names and the islands our ancestors were trafficked to, as Jackie Wheeler of Lee Day advised yesterday, to continue to dig into the trusts and charities that are still endowed with that wealth. Now for some contextualised history. On the 13th of May 1946, the Allied Control Authority Coordinating Committee issued Directive 30 in Berlin. The legislation dealt with the liquidation of German military and Nazi memorials and museums. The Control Council directed as follows. On and after the date of this directive, the planning, designing, erection, installation, posting or other display of any monument, memorial, poster, statue, edifice, street or highway name marker, emblem, tablet or insignia which tends to preserve and keep alive the German military tradition, to revive militarism or to commemorate the Nazi Party, of which is of such a nature as to glorify incidents of war, and the functioning of military museums and exhibitions, and the erection, installation or posting or other display on a building or other structure or any of the same will be prohibited and declared illegal. All military musicians and exhibitions must be closed and liquidated by the 1st of January 1947 throughout the entire German territory. So, the governments of England, France, the USA and the USSR recognised statues glorifying past militarism and atrocities, stimulated hate and violence, and acted swiftly to have these symbols and statues removed. In 1951, West German Chancellor Konrad Adenauer committed to pay moral and material indemnity for the unspeakable crimes committed in the name of the German people during World War II. Afterwards, his government signed a set of reparations agreements with Israel and an umbrella group of advocates known as the Conferences on Jewish Material Claims against Germany. Over the next 20 years, Germany committed to compensating other countries, Jewish and non-Jewish victims of the Holocaust, and forced labourers. While difficult to quantify, Germany states that it has distributed over 91 billion US dollars. In 1970, the German Chancellor Willy Brandt travelled to Poland to sign the Treaty of Warsaw to clarify the limits of the contentious border between 2 countries. While he was there, he fell to his knees on what has become known in Germany as the Warsaw genuflection, apologising for the German atrocities in World War II. The US government paid $1.6 billion to Japanese Americans interned in World War II, and a derisory payment of $1.3 billion to Native American tribes between 1846 to 1978 for seizing their land, but it sets precedents. In his Atlantic monograph, The Case for Reparations, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote that reparations could not make up for the murder perpetuated by the Nazis, but they did launch Germany's reckoning with itself. Stuart E. Eisenstadt, who negotiated Holocaust reparations with Germany on behalf of the US and Claims Conference, argued against slavery reparations in Politico in 2019, saying, "Reparations are complicated, contentious and messy and work best when the crime is recent and direct victims are still alive. Trying to repay descendants of slavery could end up causing more problem than reparations would seek to solve." This statement, written by a former US ambassador to the EU and professor of Jewish culture, beggars belief. Teach Plaques is a descendant-led initiative and stands for Transatlantic Trafficked Enslaved African Corrective Historical Plaques. Founded after the toppling of the Edward Colston statue, whose philanthropy was sung like a hymn by the church for over 200 years. I promised myself they could keep their statues, they could polish their brass plaques, they could shine their stained glass window. As the conversation tilts towards heirs of the perpetrators and what they deign appropriate for their forefathers' actions and from their inherited wealth, and armed with the names they branded us with, we are coming for your reputations, and by our names we will know you.
Very strong opening, Gloria, and thank you for that contribution.
Education is preparation for reparations.